My name is Sean Grass, and I'm an associate professor of English. Well, at the undergraduate level, I teach English 376B, which is Victorian literature, second half of the British 19th century. I've also taught the English literature since 1800 course at the sophomore level, and I do some teaching as well at the senior level and in the freshman writing curriculum. As an undergraduate, I attended Bucknell University in central Pennsylvania with a major in English, and then for graduate school went on to Penn State University, where I did an MA and a PhD, both with English and with a specialization in Victorian literature. The main focus of my work is in Victorian literature and culture. So for the most part, I tend to teach and study works by writers from between about 1830 and 1900 on the British side of the Atlantic. Among my favorites is probably Charles Dickens, but I also like to teach and study works by the Brontes and Wilkie Collins and Thomas Hardy. I have several research projects ongoing. The one that's most immediate is a book that will be out in just a few months on Charles Dickens and the last novel that he completed, a book called Our Mutual Friend, which most people don't know much about on this side of the Atlantic. But I'm also doing research on 19th century autobiography and detective fiction, and I like to look also at considerations of the book market and how well different kinds of books sold and which magazines were most popular during the 19th century. I can think of two things that I really like about my job. One of them, of course, is working directly with students. I'm a big proponent of trying to help students become better critical thinkers and writers, aside from just teaching them about the 19th century, the history and culture and literature of that period. But I think the other thing that I really enjoy about my job is just having the freedom and flexibility to pursue research topics that are really of interest to me. I like investing my time in projects that I find personally rewarding and that I think I can use to bring information and knowledge back to the classroom. I value education, public education particularly, and I'm a first-generation college student, so for me, teaching in a place like Iowa State is a very important sort of thing to do, and I like getting involved and helping my students become, whatever kinds of things they want to be professionally, and especially if they can put writing and critical thinking skills to use in those capacities. Only by virtue of people becoming educated about the world that they live in can they really become responsible and informed citizens. One of the reasons that I like teaching material from the 19th century in England is because a lot of the things that are still earmarks of our society, whether it's public education or prison systems or hospitals and healthcare, most of these things had their origins in 19th century British culture. That's when they were created, as England became the first country to really sort of modernize in an industrial age. And so I think that teaching, not just generally, but the kinds of things that I teach really help people to understand where this crazy world that we live in now came from and what helped to shape it. The courses that I teach benefit students by making them better writers. I mean, that's one of the most important things. People, I think, assume that English majors are going to have excellent communication skills, maybe oral, but certainly written skills. And beyond that, I think that at the level of critical thinking, if you consider what it is English majors do and what we do when we're teaching literary text, we are taking something that's there on the page that many people have struggled to sort out the meaning of and trying to articulate what that text means. And I think that's a skill that applies to all kinds of fields. It doesn't really matter in the end what kind of data you're looking at. If you can look at something and try to explain what it means and articulate that explanation to other people around you, that's a skill that's going to place you in good stead, not just as a critical thinker of the things you experience in your life, but as someone who's going to be really, really useful in a professional setting.